What's up, guys? Hope everyone is doing well. In this video, I'm going to be going over a number of updates for Bitcoin, but the first thing that I want to touch on is quickly a few news-related things. Here we can see an article from FinTech going over how the US SEC recently approved the Ethereum ETS for Bitcoin on top, or rather for Ethereum, but for Bitcoin back in January of 2024. This only continues to add fuel to the fire for the further adoption and the increasing of the prominence of cryptocurrencies, of blockchain solutions being integrated into society for various means. On top of that, I wanted to quickly play this video here and this really specifically pertains to America, as we will see here the former President Donald Trump saying something very important about blockchain, Bitcoin, crypto when it comes to the upcoming election for America.
I will ensure that the future of crypto and the future of Bitcoin will be made in the USA, not driven overseas. I will support the right to self-custody to the nation's 50 million crypto holders. I say this with your vote. I will keep Elizabeth Warren and her goons away from your Bitcoin. And I will never allow the creation of a central bank digital currency.
Now here we see Donald Trump saying various important things, mentioning current politicians and their negative view of blockchain, of cryptocurrency in general, and they're really attacking against it in terms of it becoming generally adopted for positive and for proper purposes of separating the citizen and government and giving more power to the citizen rather than a controlling government. Also mentioning how he is for the self-custody of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, and really just in general here providing the sentiment that he is a presidential candidate that is for the use of cryptocurrencies, of Bitcoin, and the power that it can actually give back to the people rather than to the government. Although at the end of the day, when it comes to politics in general, especially American politics, everything really should be taken with a grain of salt. Many things that politicians will speak about and say that they may promise or that they will be very for or they will back something. A lot of times, a number of these things they say never ends up actually happening. They perhaps may not be as strong on the stance that they mentioned, but nonetheless, this is very important and very pivotal, especially for people that live within America going into the upcoming election. Outside of that, to get into the actual technical analysis, here we see the 4-hour Bitcoin chart showcasing the bull flag channel that I've been updating for quite some time. If we zoom in here, we can see that Bitcoin's been on this rough uptrend with this red dotted zone, this increasing trend. So far, we've seen a bounce here around May 16th. We saw a bounce here for Bitcoin around May 19th, also around May 24th. So far, Bitcoin appears to be losing that. When it comes to the indicators, there's no really solid, outside of looking at the RVI, in terms of seeing some sort of bullish divergence on this 4-hour chart. Nonetheless, again, ultimately, I don't believe Bitcoin will continue. At this point, I do not lean towards a significant downside, which should actually lead into this here daily chart. If we look here at the daily being more substantial than looking at a 4-hour chart with respect to the bull flag or other patterns, we can see so far, zooming in here, the Bitcoin could potentially be finding support along the daily, what was resistance for the bull flag channel, assuming this again is a bull flag. Perhaps Bitcoin is finding support here along the bull flag resistance, flipping it into support. Also nicely lining up with, we can see the yellow dotted horizontal line here, which is the daily candle close high with respect to the last double top of the prior bull market from around 64 to 69,000. So there's plenty of reason, I personally believe, to see the Bitcoin has a strong case, at least a decently strong case, of finding support here rather than continuing to, going back to this 4-hour chart, go lower down towards the median, which would sit somewhere around, at this point, around 63.5 to around approximately 64,000, depending upon when it would hit this rough median right here, somewhere around this range. So again, still somewhere around 63, really generally 63 to 64,000. Although, again, at the end of the day, it's totally possible that, let's say, there's not a bull flag here. I mean, if Bitcoin does not find a bounce above what this support, or rather this resistance has been, and finding this as support here soon, then here shortly within the next week or so, depending upon what happens in the short to medium term for Bitcoin, I will begin to see this bull flag as invalidated, given the flag is becoming a little bit too long for the flagpole. It's definitely pushing its limits here, I'd have to say, in terms of the pattern wise, in terms of the length of it. But outside of that, again, it's definitely totally possible that we see Bitcoin come down to around 43 to 44K at lowest. Again, factoring the around 20 to 40% rule, typically the range Bitcoin will retrace during healthy bull markets. If we look here at this weekly chart, we can see going in and out of the drawings and the trend line, we can see that Bitcoin has so far found, assuming that this bounce that we see here currently for Bitcoin, let's say Bitcoin continues to follow. So far, Bitcoin's been following along with this fractal that I've had on here since a number of videos ago, fairly accurately. If Bitcoin continues to go up here and continues to go higher towards 90, approximately 100, 120, 30K or so over the next few weeks and over the next month or so, this will be the third major bounce so far since going back to around early October, first week or so of October, then finding another bounce around the end of January, and then again currently this could potentially be the third bounce where Bitcoin will see a impulse up to around 90 to 130K is the broad range that I've been giving so far. If we look here down, mainly just the RVI recently found a bottom at around the median, around 50. If this RVI could continue to break back above the Bollinger Bands on here, on the RVI, we could potentially see something similar to around September 18th, which would actually be the beginning of the impulse from around 25 up to the around 73K so far. Again, just hinting towards, potentially pointing towards a rather impulsive or big move here soon. Not that it obviously needs to follow in suit with the fractal pattern. I mean, Bitcoin can go higher and also could go lower than what I've been saying. It's totally possible at the end of the day. But overall, I still believe that Bitcoin is in a bull market. There's still plenty of upside to see, upwards towards 180 to around 230K or so by at latest roughly end of first quarter of next year of 2025. Outside of that, the last thing that I want to touch on here is the Bitcoin dominance. We'll look down here at the bottom. We can see this red rectangle where we see the Bitcoin dominance in an uptrend until it sets what we can, or what I'll just call for simplicity here, just double top, and then Bitcoin entered this bear market, or the dominance entered this downtrend and bear market rather. And during this red period, we see it lasts around January of 2018 to basically late December, January of 2021. Let's look back here at the weekly chart. So January of 2018 to January of 2021. You can see January of 2018 is right here, roughly in this area, just shortly after the bear market's beginning, basically at the beginning. If we go to January 2021, it's going to be somewhere around right here in this area. So this range really encompasses the entirety of the bear market, or we can say sideways trading. Me personally, I look at this as the bear market. Back here, this was an intermediate impulse, and then this was just a drastic correction. Again, according to my phase cycle theory, what we see here is just a massive W, or a double bottom pattern leading into the bull market, which led into the 64 to 69K double top. But again, we see January of 2018 and January of 2021. The Bitcoin dominance was on an uptrend as Bitcoin is reaching its all-time highs, reaching around 33, 34, then eventually 60, 64K. This is when we can see the dominance for Bitcoin dying out as it is getting closer, as it is encroaching the all-time high for the last bull market. Now starting around, again, same time frame, late December, early January, well, late December 2020, early January of 2021, the dominance for Bitcoin begins to die off and enters a very quick steep drop, and then it roughly goes sideways from May of 2021 to around October, November of 2022. So for well over a year. And during this time, again, so from around January 2021, November 2022, we see, again, picking up from this highlight, this black highlight back here, to around November 2022, we can see roughly in this range right here. So we see the Bitcoin dominance rising as Bitcoin's basically in its bear market as it starts to build up towards the bull market, which makes sense because during the Bitcoin bear markets, obviously we're going to see altcoins drop a lot more than Bitcoin does, which makes sense to see this, especially as Bitcoin is then bottoming out as it did back in around December 2018, January 2019. Ultimately, as we can see here, Bitcoin leading up in this curve here towards the upside, towards around 65K, the Bitcoin dominance is increasing. And as we get closer to Bitcoin, the price of Bitcoin topping out, we see the dominance, as I said, set this double top here, and then ultimately it enters this downtrend really beginning around September of 2019 as Bitcoin's topping out, and then as altcoins typically do, lagging behind, they will start to then really see the most of their gains. And really what I'm trying to get across here with this is that given that Bitcoin is roughly in the same period that it was back here in this range, again, so around late December 2020, early January 2021, where Bitcoin is roughly in that same period, and we could very likely see in the next month or two, three or so, Bitcoin, as it gets closer to its all-time high, we'll start to see altcoins, and a lot of them are still sitting, relatively roughly ranging in the lows. We'll see a lot of these altcoins really start to see a lot of great increase in the price. We'll start to see parabolic moves in certain altcoins, and then altcoin season will generally begin once we start to see Bitcoin get closer and closer towards whatever its all-time high is going to be. But outside of that, that was really all that I wanted to touch on in this video. As always, hopefully enjoyed. None of this is meant to be financial advice, but outside of that, everything being said, I hope you all have a wonderful day.